Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Sight for White, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Saturday, the 12th of March 2022. With the newsletter now out, we have been receiving calls of members who would like to join the Members Forum, which meet to discuss how services can be improved to help people, the Fundraising Committee, where people meet to be able to offer local fundraising ideas here on the island, and the new activities like fishing, horse riding and bowling, which we're pulling together. There are, however, spaces left on both committees and on the new activities, together with our existing activities like golf, which meet in Ryde this month, it's the 20th of March, swimming, who meet at Medina every week, and of course our low vision drop-in day and coffee morning on a Wednesday. These are just a couple of examples of the activities that we do here at Millbrook House. I very much hope everybody is staying safe, and we look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you, Lisa.
Hello everyone, this is Steve reading a story from the Island Echo headlined Bird Flu Confirmed on the Isle of Wight After Dead Bird Found. The Isle of Wight Council is urging island poultry keepers to ensure they protect their birds and for everyone to be vigilant around domestic and wild birds after a case of bird flu was confirmed in a dead wild bird on the Isle of Wight. Since November 2021, there have been nationwide restrictions to protect poultry from an outbreak of avian influenza, or bird flu. This is the first confirmed case of the disease being carried by a wild bird on the island during the current outbreak. Anyone keeping even a few birds, including chickens, ducks and geese, is legally obliged to follow the requirements, which are designed to keep domestic birds from coming into contact with wild birds, helping to keep them safe from infection. Anyone who finds a dead or sickly wild bird should not touch it, and not let pets touch it, but contact the DEFRA helpline on 034 59 33 5577. The UK Government has declared a nationwide prevention zone in November 2021, and this remains in force. This means anyone who keeps poultry, including pets, must house or net all poultry and captive birds to keep them separate from wild birds, ensure the areas where birds are kept are unattractive to wild birds, for example by netting ponds and by removing wild bird food sources, feed and water birds in enclosed areas to discourage wild birds, minimise movement in and out of bird enclosures, clean and disinfect footwear and keep areas where birds live clean and tidy, and reduce any existing contamination by cleansing and disinfecting concrete areas and fencing off wet or boggy areas. An Isle of Wight Council spokesman said, "Bird owners so far have mostly been careful and thorough in following the requirements for feeding arrangements and biosecurity. But now the disease has been confirmed here on our island, it is vital that we continue protecting the welfare of both captive and wild birds. It's important for everyone to be aware of this risk because anybody could come across a dead wild bird. Avian influenza spreads from bird to bird by direct contact or through contaminated body fluids and feces. The disease can also be spread by contaminated feed and water or by dirty vehicles, clothing and footwear. It's important to try and discourage wild birds from coming into contact with any domestic birds to protect both of them." The UK Health Security Agency advises that the risk to the public health from the virus is very low, and the Food Standards Agency advises that avian influenzas pose a very low food safety risk for UK consumers. Properly cooked poultry and poultry products, including eggs, are still safe to eat. The Isle of Wight Council has already contacted owners with larger flocks, but the rules apply to everybody right across the island, even if they only have a few birds. Anyone who keeps poultry, including chickens, ducks and geese, should check the government website for updates and full information on the rules.
This is Den reading an article from the Island Echo. Pump prices soar. Fuel hits £2 a litre on the Isle of Wight. Motorists are really starting to feel the pinch as fuel prices hit £2 a litre here on the Isle of Wight, and the cost is only set to increase as the days and weeks roll on. For possibly the first time ever, diesel is being sold at 201.5 per litre at Osborne Garage in East Cowes. That's 10p more expensive than yesterday, Wednesday, when it was priced at 191.5 per litre. Although the garage is somewhat known for high prices and is therefore an extreme price, it's representative of rising fuel costs across the board. Other fuel stations across the island are likely to see further price rises at the pumps as a result of crude oil hitting $139 a barrel, the highest it has been in 14 years. In contrast to today's price in East Cowes, Whitwell Garage, a rural non-supermarket station, is 41p a litre cheaper on diesel. Tesco Extra in Ryde is selling diesel at 159.9 pence per litre this morning, meaning on a 50 litre top-up there is a staggering £20.50 difference between East Cowes and Ryde. Simon Williams, RAC Fuel spokesman, has warned that more increases at the pumps are expected in the coming days. He adds, "The cost of filling a 55 litre family car with petrol is now £87, £7 more than it was at the start of the year." Diesel drivers are even worse off, with a tank now costing more than £90 for the first time ever, £8 more than in early January. The government could ease the situation by reducing fuel duty and VAT. As it stands, on average, around 58 pence of the price of a litre of fuel is fuel duty, with a further 26 pence being VAT.
Hello, this is an article read by Sue from On the Wight. Parish Council resignation following barrage of hate messages and threats of violence. The councillor says the recent one-star food hygiene inspection of his business has been met with a barrage of hate messages and threats of violence via social media and email. A publican and councillor on Bembridge Parish Council has stood down after threats to burn his business down. J. Chapman, owner of the Old Village Inn on Bembridge High Street, wrote to the chair of Bembridge Parish Council, Councillor Liz White, on Sunday telling her of his decision to resign. In his letter, Mr. Chapman says the recent one-star food hygiene inspection of his business has been met with a barrage of hate messages and threats of violence via social media and email. Mr. Chapman said threats of violence had been directed towards himself and his business, which is also his family home. He said, "As a result of these targeted attacks to my individual person and threats to burn my business down, I am left with no other option than to believe that my public position as a volunteer on the parish council has come to a sad end." Mr. Chapman said it was not the first time he had looked to step down as a direct result of vexations towards him. Mr. Chapman separately raised grievances with former parish councillor Alastair Steen, saying recent interactions were a step too far. Previously, Mr. Chapman said he had tolerated clashes and viewed the input he gave to Bembridge Parish Council as a benefit for the village. He said his resignation would not be the last time the parish loses a valid and respected member of the council due to the actions of Mr. Steen, who should be uniting a community rather than destroying it. Mr. Steen was contacted for a comment, but declined at this stage until he had seen the full documentation. Mr. Steen has in recent weeks raised issues with Bembridge Parish Council over the co-option of the two new councillors last year. He alleges his application to return to the council was withdrawn, against his wishes, due to more than one candidate standing for each seat, among other issues. Bembridge Parish Council denies the allegations Mr Steen has raised against it.
Anti-war demonstrators protest Russian invasion of Ukraine. From Island Echo, read by Lee. 40 islanders gathered at St James's Square in Newport on Sunday, the 6th of March, to show solidarity with Ukraine. The Ukrainian well-wishers displayed flags, ribbons, flowers and placards as part of a global day of action for peace. The demonstration began with a speech full of emotion by a long-time anti-war campaigner, followed by 2 minutes of silence in respect of the victims of war in Ukraine. People in attendance gave out flowers, ribbons and flags to each other as curious onlookers stopped and joined in and swelled the numbers. Impromptu speeches were given to thank islanders who have been collecting goods and raising money to send to Ukraine, and the countries who are taking in the refugees. Some Ukrainian nationals attended, whose families are from cities which have become familiar to us in news bulletins due to the progress of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, including island residents from Mariupol and Kharkiv. They spoke of their shock and upset, but also the prospective response from the global community in support of Ukraine. The gathering continued for a full hour as people came to terms with this war and discussed the importance of campaigning for a peaceful resolution. Islanders are invited to meet again this Sunday the 13th of March in St James's Square, Newport, at midday in a public show of their strength of support for the people of Ukraine.
Hi everyone, this is Steve reading a story from Isle of Wight Radio, headlined Isle of Wight Council says pension fund has no direct links to Russia. The Isle of Wight Council says it has taken steps to ensure pension fund investments do not include Russian assets following the invasion of Ukraine. The authority says it has conducted a full review of its contracts and pension fund investments to make sure island funds were not invested anywhere that could benefit the Russian regime. Councillor Chris Jarman, the Cabinet Member for Strategic Finances and Chair of the Pension Committee, said, "I'm pleased we have been able to act quickly to ensure our members' money is not invested anywhere that may benefit the Russian regime. The illegal invasion of Ukraine has horrified us all, and it was important we took this step, both from a moral perspective and as a show of solidarity with the Ukrainian nation. Our first hope is for peace and for an end to so much unnecessary suffering. Following that investigation, the Council has confirmed it has no direct holdings in any Russian stock or any materially significant investments in Russia-linked equities. It has also been confirmed that none of the money market funds in which the Council itself holds deposits have any direct exposure to Russian companies. The Council added that it does not have any direct contractual links with Gazprom Energy, one of Russia's biggest state-controlled energy companies, or any other Russian fuel supplier.
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight's floating bridge leaves taxpayers £2 million out of pocket, 2021 figures reveal. The troubled floating bridge left Isle of Wight taxpayers around £2 million out of pocket last year. It can be exclusively revealed. Exclusive figures obtained by Isle of Wight Radio show the Isle of Wight Council spent close to £900,000, precisely £883,789, on repair costs for the much maligned vessel. While foot passenger replacement services put in place to ensure the Cowes to East Cowes link remains available cost £220,899. Its estimated loss of income from vehicles not being able to use the service totalled around £170,000, precisely £172,178. although the council said the chain ferry made around £500,000, to be precise, £497,887 in the last calendar year, the expenditure far outweighs the income. Breakdown of costs. In total, more than £1.3 million, precisely £1,342,674,000, was paid to private contractors by the council. For repairs and maintenance, engineering firm Adams Precision received £776,515, while for replacement services, Solent and White Line Cruisers were given £122,851 and Cowes Water Taxis received £71,325. The push boat, which the council uses to help Floating Bridge 6 during certain tides, cost £106,038, which went to Cowes Harbour Commission. Overall revenue expenditure for the chain ferry totalled £2,242,893. Among other things, this went on staffing costs, for example salary and training, as well as insurance and general charges like electricity costs. After income and taking into account overall expenditure, the council lost a total of £1,917,184 on the vessel in 2021. What's next for the Lemon? As Isle of Wight Radio reported on Monday the 17th, talks to reach a financial settlement over the vessel have run aground. The Isle of Wight Council said legal mediation failed because parties were miles apart in agreeing on the costs. 2 days were set out for the council to reach a settlement with the vessel's builders and designers, but it walked away empty-handed. It's now deciding what its next steps will be, but has previously said it won't hesitate to take further legal action.
Hello, this is Sue reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight's Wet Leg perform on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Isle of Wight music sensation Wet Leg have performed live on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. The group performed their hit single Chaise Longue on the US chat show. Last year saw Wet Leg appear on Later with Jules Holland and the Seth Meyers show Over the Pond. This year, the band are touring across 7 countries and are set to play the Isle of Wight Festival in June. Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl recently paid homage to Wet Leg, speaking as part of The Guardian's On My Radar column. Sharing his thoughts on the band fronted by Hester Chambers and Rhiannon Teasdale, he said, "This band is starting to blow up in America. A friend forwarded me their song Chaise Longue and I thought, oh, this is great, it's fun, it's fresh, it's new, it's just completely entertaining. Great sense of humour, great beat, great riffs, totally hooked. I started forwarding it to my friends, and whenever we got together for our living room dance parties, that's the one song everybody jumps off the couch and dances to. There are nights when we just play that song on repeat. They make brilliant videos too. I can't wait to see them live."
Town Councillor calls on colleagues to support blanket ban on use of glyphosate from On the Wight, read by Lee. The petition calling for a ban on glyphosate weed killer on the Isle of Wight has reached almost 4,000 signatures. The councillor who started it is now calling for even more action. The online petition to ban the use of glyphosate weed killer by the use of the Isle of Wight's council contractors has reached almost 4,000 signatures. Now, the councillor on Ventnor Town Council, VTC, who launched the petition, is putting forward a motion calling on the VTC to write to the Isle of Wight Council, IWC, demanding a ban on the use of the chemical in the town to protect the famous Ventnor wall lizards and other wildlife. Councillor Mark Jeffries will go on to propose that VTC make sure all their contractors do not use glyphosate. Once agreed and actioned, he proposes that the VTC's response is publicised to encourage other town and parish councils to follow suit. In his motion being held at next week Monday's VTC meeting, Councillor Jeffries will explain that in 2015, the World Health Organization increased the rating attached to glyphosate from being a possible carcinogen to probable. This is the second highest classification. He adds that last week Freshwater Parish Council passed on a motion to ban the use of glyphosate by their contractors and requested a blanket ban. Councillor Jeffries' petition to stop the use of glyphosate weed killer on the Isle of Wight now stands at 3,872 signatures and includes support from TV presenter, campaigner and activist Chris Packham. The Cabinet member responsible for highways and infrastructure, Councillor Phil Jordan, told the recent full council meeting that they are continuing to search for a sustainable alternative, and we discuss all these issues with the contractor at the highest level. Councillor Jonathan Bacon, the Cabinet member for the Environment, said he supported looking to better ways to tackle the growth of weeds on roads and footways. He said, "Having spoken to the Director of Neighbourhoods, we are supporting careful selective use of glyphosate. While it is still going to be used, and particularly being mindful of wildlife where they may be affected, but certainly I would like to put my weight behind seeking better alternatives. It is plain that the glyphosate cannot be the only way to deal with weeds. I know that it's a problem that has come up in various councils across the country, but it still seems that research is in early stages. But certainly we would support the research to find an effective alternative that is better for our environment." Councillor Jeffries will be putting forward this motion on Monday the 14th of March from 7 p.m. at the Ventnor Town Council, the Green Room, Salisbury Gardens, Dudley Road.
Hi everyone, this is Steve reading a story from Island Echo, headlined New Island Dementia Strategy to be considered by Cabinet. A new dementia strategy will be considered by the Isle of Wight Council's Cabinet next week. The Isle of Wight Dementia Strategy sets out plans to improve the health and well-being of islanders living with dementia, ensuring that they and their families and carers are supported. Local voluntary and community organisations including the Dementia Awareness Partnership, Age UK Isle of Wight, Alzheimer Cafe Isle of Wight, Carers Isle of Wight and Health Watch Isle of Wight have led on the development of the strategy, helped by many other local organisations including Mountbatten Hospice, Independent Arts and the Alzheimer's Society. In addition, the strategy has been shaped by direct input from people living with dementia and their carers. The strategy has been produced by the Council in partnership with the Isle of Wight NHS Trust, Isle of Wight Clinical Commissioning Group CCG, and will be adopted by all three organisations. Dementia is fast becoming the UK's largest health and social care challenge. There is an estimated 2,655 people over the age of 65 living with dementia on the island, and the Alzheimer's Society estimates that this figure will increase to 3,920 by 2030. There are around 15,000 unpaid family and friends caring for people on the island. Of this, 32.5% are caring for someone with dementia. There are 5 main themes to the strategy. Preventing well, minimising the risk of dementia. Diagnosing well, through timely, accurate diagnosis. Personalised care planning and review within the first year of diagnosis. Supporting well. People living with dementia and their carers will have support to access safe and high quality health and social care. Living well. helping people to live full, independent and active lives in safe and accepting communities, friendly communities, more flexible respite to meet the needs of people with dementia and their carers. Dying well, helping support people with dementia to die with dignity in a place of their choosing, and support for family and carers before, during and after a person with dementia dies. Councillor Carl Love, Cabinet Lead for Health and Social Care, said, "The aim of the new strategy is to improve the experience, trying to make real-life difference to island people living with dementia and for their families. Dementia is an unforgiving disease. The emotional impact of having to deal with loss of independence and fears for how it will progress is a frightening, heartbreaking and unimaginable burden on the affected person and on their family. They are the experts by experience in this condition, and we have listened to them and make positive changes where we can. This strategy could not have been developed without their views and the help of the local organisations gathering evidence and feedback on the ground, and I am extremely grateful to them. If approved at Cabinet, the next steps are to develop and put in place a delivery plan for the strategy."
This is Den reading an article from Island Echo. Tesco to open first West White store in Freshwater on the 24th of March. Tesco will open its first West White superstore on Thursday the 24th of March, creating 70 plus roles for the community, with more than 60 people joining from the former Co-op store which closed in February. In addition to providing a wide range of fresh food, ready meals and other supplies, the new store at Afton Road in Freshwater will stock items from a number of local suppliers, including the Isle of Wight tomato stall. Facilities at the new store include a post office and EV charging points in the car park, which will be free to use for Tesco customers. The store will open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sundays. Kevin Smith, store manager, said, "I'm incredibly proud that the newest Tesco store will be opening in Freshwater, and I look forward to opening our doors and welcoming all the familiar faces. Our colleagues in stores are the heartbeat of Tesco, and their local knowledge and commitment means that we can serve customers, communities and the planet a little better every day."
Hello, this is an article from On the White, read by Sue. Plans to revert Freshwater Care Home back into 2 homes. All former residents of the care home have been relocated and staff moved on to other jobs in the sector. A Freshwater Bay care home has closed its doors and it could be turned into houses. Owners of the Aconia residential care home in the square, Carol and Nigel Brooke, are retiring and after multiple unsuccessful attempts to sell the 18-bed business are closing it down. All the former residents have been relocated with the help of social services and staff moved on to other jobs in the care sector. The buildings were originally 2 houses, with one converting into a residential home in 1961 and the other joining in 1995. Plans to increase the number of beds in the care home had been previously rejected by the Isle of Wight Council, which halted any major extensions. Planning agents McCare Associates said in documents that the business was no longer viable for new owners to take over as it was so small. They said there was also a problem with staffing. Reverting back to 2 detached 4-bed homes would be easy, the agent said, with only minor internal changes such as removal of lifts necessary. The link between the 2 buildings would also be demolished so the properties could be separate dwellings. To view the plans, 22/00337/FUL. You can visit the Isle of Wight Council's planning register. Comments can be submitted until the 1st of April.
Royal Isle of Wight County Show to be held over 2 days in 2022 from Island Echo, read by Lee. The Royal Isle of Wight County Show is back for 2022 and for the first time since 2009 will be held over 2 days to include even more fantastic performances and exhibition spaces. The long-standing popular event, now in its 121st year, will be held over the weekend of the 25th and 26th of June and will have a royal theme to tie in with the Queen's Jubilee celebrations that are happening nationally throughout June. Headlining the show will be the Queen's Colour Squadron, the RAF's dedicated ceremonial unit, responsible for representing the RAF at state and national ceremonial occasions, as well as providing guards of honour for the royal family and heads of state. The squadron currently holds a record for completing nearly 3 million foot and rifle drill movements in less than 24 hours. The Adams Axemen, the country's best-known lumberjack display team, will also perform along with many sought-after groups from across the south. Visitors can expect to see all the usual animal shows, displays and competitions and can get up close to some friendly farmyard animals at the show farm. Plus there are plenty of hands-on activities and demos to try. Graham Biss, chairman of the show, says, "We're going big this year. We were so disappointed to had to cancel 2020 and 2021 county shows. So what better comeback than doubling up? We're holding the show over 2 days instead of the usual one, adding an extra car park, and we're increasing the space so that we can invite more traders and visitors to join us and experience an even bigger slice of country life." A range of indoor and outdoor pitches are available for organisations of all sizes, and this year will see new dedicated spaces for horticulture, natural environment and tourism. The Island Arts Area and I Love White Makers Market attracts the island's best artists and crafters, exhibiting and demonstrating their techniques, and gives visitors opportunities to watch, try and buy. The Visit Isle of Wight Tourism Pavilion will enable our island tourist businesses to showcase the best of the island to the thousands of residents and visitors expected to attend. Local food and produce will be another key theme of the show, so applications from island catering and food businesses are very welcome. With so many excellent food and drink producers on the island, space will be made available in the food pavilion for traders, covering a wide variety of tastes and budgets. In true celebration of local quality, the White Mark members will be there in force. Graham adds, "We are thrilled the Queen's Colour Squadron will be performing at the show, which is another first for the show and the island. We're expecting a lot of interest from traders and exhibitors this year, so make sure you book early to secure your spot. It's a fantastic opportunity to get your products and services in front of thousands of visitors over 2 days. Traders can get an early bird discount for pitches booked by the 31st of March 2022. To reserve your space, contact the email address at riwas@naturalcenterprise.co.uk.
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from Isle of Wight Radio, headlined, "Man swims to safety after close call with container ship in Southampton water." 3 men aboard 2 dinghies had a very close call with a container ship on Saturday morning after one boat's engine failed to start in waters just off Southampton. A shocking video sent in by an Isle of Wight radio listener on board the Red Funnel ferry shows the moment one man abandoned his dinghy and swims towards the safety of his friend's boat. Eden East and Harvey Brett Hill said, "Earlier today in Southampton water, I witnessed a very close call with 3 men, 2 dinghies and a very large container ship. One dinghy couldn't get its engine started and had to abandon its vessel. Swimming for his life, he was almost sucked under the large container ship, but he was rescued by his friends with possibly only seconds to spare. The Red Funnel Ferry Eden and Harvey were travelling on is said to have stopped and deployed its man overboard procedure.
This is Den reading a report from Island Echo. Burial and cremation fee increase frozen pending commercial review. Councillors have agreed to defer all of the proposed inflationary fee increases for burials and cremations scheduled for the 1st of April 2022, as well as announcing a £158 reduction in the cost of a direct cremation. Earlier this week, Island Echo reported that the Isle of Wight Council looked to increase costs of dying from anywhere between 5 and 10%. It was proposed that the cost of burying an adult during the week would increase by £66, from £1,215 to £1,281. Meanwhile, it was suggested that a cremation, including the use of the organ and a biodegradable urn, would cost £55 more, rising from £1,010 to £1,065. Since 2016 to 17, fees for the cremation of an adult have gone up more than 50% on the island, from £644 to £974. The cost of burial has risen 43% in the same time period. Announcing a review of the business model for the whole Bereavement Services Department, Councillor Chris Jarman, Cabinet Member for Strategic Finance, Corporate Resources and Transformational Change, has said, "Through our Bereavement Services Department, the Council supports people through some of the most difficult times of life. We are proud of our service and the dedicated staff who deliver it, and we intend to continue to support and improve the department and ensure that it is offering the best and most appropriate services to island people. For that reason, we consider very carefully how we pay for and support this essential and highly sensitive service. We are conscious of the effect of fees, particularly on those in poverty. This year, there will be a review of the way in which the department runs as a part of our wider commercialisation review. This gives us the opportunity to pause the introduction of almost all these new charges, with the exception of the new streaming video fee, which will go ahead as planned. In addition, the cost of a direct cremation, which is the cheapest possible option for a bereaved family to have a loved one cremated, is reduced from the proposed cost of £608 to £450, which was the price in 2020 to 2021. This reduction will have immediate effect. We recognise the need to ensure a respectful and dignified option which will remain affordable to island residents in financial distress. And this decision reflects our intention to maintain this at an affordable level.
Hello, this is Sue reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio, and I'm afraid you're going to have to live with my pronunciation of everything. From India to the Isle of Wight, ancient art of Kathakali coming to Key Arts. The renowned Kaila Chethani Kathakalia Company from Kerala, South India, is bringing the ancient art of Kathakalia to Newport's Key Arts on March the 24th and 25th. Kathakalia is the classical dance drama of Kerala and combines storytelling, dance, drama, ritual, vibrant costumes and an intricate makeup featured in the Guinness Book of Records as the most three-dimensional makeup in the world. Presented by world-class Cathacalia experts who have undergone years of intense training and have performed internationally for decades. The tour focuses on making Cathacalia as accessible and enjoyable to as many people as possible, including children, families and students, both from Asian and non-Asian communities. Before the performance starts, a demonstration will illustrate how a Cathacalia actor tells a story through emotions, facial expressions, characters and gestures. A short film will take the audience back in time when the art first emerged 600 years ago. The performance that follows highlights the need for women and girls to be respected and to feel safe. In addition to the performance, there is an opportunity to learn more about Cathacalia through a drama-based workshop led by a top artist from Kerala. Further information about the performance's company and ancient art of Cathacalia is available online.
Man fined for fly tipping after being tracked down. From Isle of Wight Radio, read by Lee. A man has been fined for dumping rubbish on a roadside verge near Porchfield. The man admitted discarding the items including furniture, a shopping trolley, an empty metal gas canister and other household items, earlier this week after being traced by Isle of Wight Council officials. The council's waste team received several reports of fly tipping in Coleman's Lane on Monday morning. It was described as being in locations on the verge and in gateways between New Road and Corfe Road. Evidence was found relating to an address on the island, and regulatory services carried out an investigation. When questioned under caution, the man admitted to fly tipping the waste and was issued with a £200 fixed penalty notice for the offence. The council has since arranged for the rubbish to be cleared. The council continues to remind residents they are responsible for disposing of their own waste properly and legally by using their household bins or taking the waste to their local household waste recycling site. For larger loads, they can also hire a licensed waste carrier to take the rubbish away, or they can use the council's own bulky waste collection service. Natasha Dix, Strategic Manager, Contracts, Waste and Environment, said, "Fly tipping can be classed as anything from one bag of household rubbish to several van loads of construction material. If it is dumped on land and that doesn't have a licence to accept waste, it is fly tipping and it is illegal. Anyone caught fly tipping could be ordered to pay a £200 fixed penalty notice, or the case can be taken to court where they face an unlimited fine or even imprisonment." We know the island has one of the lowest rates of fly tipping in the south east, but we need the public's help to keep it that way. One important way to do this is to make sure when using a waste company to remove waste from your property that they are registered and licensed waste carrier. Residents can check whether a company has a waste carrier's licence on the Environmental Agency website. Councillor Jonathan Bacon, Cabinet Member for Environment, Heritage and Waste, added, "There is absolutely no excuse for fly tipping and littering. Litter and fly tipping is environmental vandalism. It blights neighbourhoods and the countryside, is a threat to local wildlife and livestock, is a source of pollution and a danger to public health." Over the coming months, our new litter and fly tipping task and finish group will be developing a rolling action plan to reduce this menace through community engagement, education, innovation and a review of enforcement. We simply won't tolerate fly tipping and littering on the island, and this group will be looking at how we can reduce instances of both.
This is the second part of the talking news read by Paul
and Lynn.
Right, I'll make a start on this is tour here this week's Society News. The swimming group is back on Monday at its normal time of 1:30 p.m. until 2:30 p.m. at Medina Leisure Centre. For more information, please call the office. John, our wonderful volunteer, once again be at Totland Christchurch Annex on Monday between 2 and 4 p.m, and also our place held at West Wight Sport and Community Centre on Tuesday morning between 10:30 and 12:30 p.m. Pop along for a chat. John would be delighted to see you. Coffee and chat is on every Wednesday at Millbrook House, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Only £1 for cake and coffee. Please come along for a chat, and members of staff will be there for any assistance with equipment and information. Our Mix and Mingle group is held every Thursday at Millbrook House. Transport is available if required. The group meet between 10:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. for various activities. Please call the office for more details. Our monthly book group is on Wednesday at Millbrook House starting at 2 p.m. We are always looking for new members to join, so if you enjoy reading, please call the office for more information. The group is free to join, and the book can be either CD or memory stick form. Hopefully by now you have either received your newsletter or have heard it via audio. And if you would like to join any of the activities, please do not hesitate to contact Susan and book a space.
Our monthly golf session is next Sunday, the 20th, at Westridge Golf Centre. Call the office for more details. Next week, Monday the 21st, we have our first horse riding session at the Isle of Wight Riding Centre. The charge is £15 and will include half an hour riding and half an hour grooming the horses. Our new 10-pin bowling session is on Wednesday the 23rd at Ryde Super Bowl, starting at 2 p.m. Please arrive at 1:45 ready to start bowling at 2. Please, once again, call the office to book your space. We are restarting the Members Forum and local fundraising committees and looking for members, volunteers, friends and family to join either of these small groups. The groups will meet quarterly, and if you would be interested in either group, please do not hesitate to call the office for more detail. We would love to hear new ideas on how the charity can improve, but also fresh ideas on fundraising. Our first date for the fundraising committee meeting is April the 1st at Millbrook House, starting at 10 o'clock.
We've got another Easter Chick campaign. Our Easter chicks, kindly knitted by our members, volunteers, friends and family, have once again hatched and ready to fly the nest for only £2 each, including a Cadbury cream egg. We can also do a family basket which includes 5 chicks in an Easter basket for only £10. All proceeds go towards Sight for Wight. To purchase, please call in at Millbrook House or phone the office on 522205. One more. Age UK have been in touch and are offering free winter warm packages. If you meet the following criteria, you must be over 50 and of course in need. While stock permits, packs can consist of the following: standard packs, fleece blanket, thermo mug, hot water bottle, thermal socks, thermometer, woolly hat and gloves, reusable bag. Just call their office on 525282, or if you know of a member or even friend, relative or acquaintance who would benefit from this, please email technician@haukiw.org.uk with reference C4C and the client, that's the individual's full name, telephone number and address, and we will call them to confirm and arrange delivery.
And here we go with the letters. The first one is from Paul Fisher of Stroud in Gloucestershire, and it's titled "Royals are setting a fine example." Absolutely, the taxpayer should pay all of Andrew's bills. A thoroughly honourable individual, a life of self-sacrifice and duty, putting the needs of his people ahead of his own. His marriage also sets an example to all of us, of course, on how to live your life. What can I say about our beloved Prince Charles, another exemplary person, showing the way on how to save the planet? I believe he does get a lot of information from his plants. Princess Margaret, Mountbatten, also comes to mind. I aspire to lead a life like these inspirational people and instill in my family their values.
This is a letter from Lynn Saunders in Ventnor. More important news in the world at this moment. So, the leader of the Isle of Wight Council has a picture taken her own home with items in a cabinet. This makes not only local news but main news as well. With all that's going on in the world, is this really what drives 3 elected councillors to question, clear a public gallery and ask the leader if she will resign? If so, what do they hope to gain, other than a job vacancy? I think the majority of people realise there are certain things that have happened in our country over the past so many years that we aren't able to change. All we can do is move forward and recognise that all people in this country are treated with respect and are equal, no matter their colour, age or gender, as a matter of course. These valuable times taken up at meetings should be for our present times, not the past. One of the reasons Laura P.C. Wilcox has her job is because she was elected by her constituents to work on their behalf. She had many votes because the public believe in her hard work and ability to get the job done. As the whole of Europe teeters on the edge of a potential World War III, we should all stand back in awe at the leader of Ukraine and his people. While having no previous experience before being elected as president, and with the loss of the world now within the country's very survival, President Zelensky will be the man that goes down in history as a man of the people, a gentleman to the end, whilst risking his life on the line for his country and all its residents. He is by far the most charismatic, dynamic and brave leader that any European country has seen in a very long time. As fire rages on the borders of Europe, people are going cold, hungry, and maybe many will starve. So many things are happening at breakneck speed. It's time to focus on the real jobs and get planning now. It's a quick and changing landscape, and we will need to be ready to help the masses coming our way, as time is on no one's side.
And now, tidal energy invention would help cut cost. And this is from Eric Hoare in East Cowes. With the energy crisis we are facing, maybe now the government and even local authorities will listen to alternative solutions to this problem from the little people who have great ideas which are continually receiving a blinkered reception by the PM and MPs. For 8 years I have tried to further my invention for a completely new design for tidal stream energy, which by each unit could produce 30 megawatts per hour for 20 hours per day forever. I insist that our MP Bob Seeley steps up to the mark and badgers the House to take notice right now. I have reduced my heating to 15 degrees centigrade just to keep the chill at bay, because as a pensioner I will not be able to afford the increased prices. This is a crisis, but one that could have been rectified had the powers listened to other suggestions. I'm not after money. I'm willing to hand over my idea to anyone who will further develop the system and manufacture it. Simply contact me for further information. For example, just 2 units would supply the whole of the Isle of Wight with their 64 megawatts of power.
This is a letter from Jay Gibbons at Ride Freedom. I see Ride is looking for worthies to be given the freedom of ride in the county press the 4th of March. I seem to recall by ancient charter this entitles them to herd flocks of sheep along the pier and across to Portsmouth with flags fixed and bayonets flying. But these days they'll be lucky if they're allowed to park anywhere and ride for free.
It's a little late for our MP to complain about Russian money laundering, says Matt Weaver of Cowes. It is a little late for Bob Seeley, the County Press, 4th of March 22, to be calling for a public inquiry into Russian money laundering and corruption in the UK after acknowledging that it's been going on for between 10 and 15 years. I wonder what advice and assurances might have been given privately to rich Russian oligarchs with regard to their ill-gotten gains squirreled away in UK money markets, numerous UK company holdings and multi-million-pound property empires. I wonder what the Conservative Party chairman, who according to LBC Radio's James O'Brien, owns a concierge company with around 50 lifestyle managers in Russia, and which until very recently boasted on its company website about the number of rich Russian oligarchs it has provided services to, is now advising clients. Of course, Boris Johnson, in his usual inimitable style, has boasted about Britain being, yes, you guessed it, world-leading when it comes to imposing sanctions on Russian oligarchs who launder Putin's dirty money. While behind the scenes, it's been reported that our Conservative government moved swiftly to write into new property regulation rules an 18-month loophole where Russian oligarchs can sell off their property in the UK and move assets abroad. At the time of writing this letter, not one Russian oligarch has had their wealth seized in the UK, not one. Yet it only takes a matter of seconds to transfer money from a UK bank account to another banking safe haven elsewhere in the world. Why the delay in applying sanctions? Why is it taking so long to place unexplained wealth orders on the numerous Russian oligarchs who have been granted fast-track visas and British citizenship by our government? Might it be because it didn't arrive on our shores in an inflatable boat, but a multi-million-pound yacht instead? Many of these dubious individuals, of course, generously donate to our Conservative Party. By the time our laughable world-beating sanctions are actioned, Vladimir Putin's wealth will have been safely moved out of the UK. One could be forgiven for believing the higher echelons of British society and our Conservative government are, and have been, in bed with the enemy, so to speak, over many, many years, and are protected by senior players in our legal profession, leading accountancy firms and city banks. The truth is, Londongrad and Westminster are riddled with corruption and have been for years.
There's a letter by Patricia Dowett Ryde. Public aren't fooled, but not so grand old Duke. Regarding a letter from Stanley Brinker, the County Press, the 25th of February, while acknowledging Mr. Brinker's right to his opinion regarding Prince Andrew's way of dealing with his civil lawsuit, regardless of how the media reported the case, the general public are not stupid. Referring to the Prince throughout thoughtfully setting a lawsuit in order to distract from the Jubilee celebrations, I find that opinion utterly rubbish. Nobody can seriously believe that he would agree to pay that enormous sum of money to Miss Godfrey's charity without having a more serious reason than that. Finally, regarding Mr. Brinker's suggestion that legal expenses, lawyers' fees, etc. be paid out of the public purse, try asking the general public what they think and put my name at the top of the no list, please.
Herbicide is needed, and the name and address has been supplied but withheld for this letter. M.R. Bruce asserts in his letter, County Press, 25th of February 22, that Island Roads has bowed to minority pressure in reintroducing the use of systemic herbicide, in brackets glyphosate, to control weeds on island roads and pavements. I would suggest that Island Roads has accepted that manual control of weeds, as trialled last year, is expensive, labour-intensive and ineffective. This should concern all council taxpayers. Last year, when widespread weed growth, some up to knee-high, appeared in our streets and pavements, forcing cracks in tarmac and causing extensive damage as well as a trip hazard, we saw gangs of Island Roads workers deployed to clear the weeds. This they did through slow and laborious work, but roots were not killed and the weeds sprang up again in a matter of weeks. Already this year, because roots were not killed, weeds are already forcing their way through more cracks in tarmac on roads and pavements, causing further damage and again posing a trip hazard. As the weeds continue to grow, so the cracks widen, allowing rain in, and eventually costly repairs are required. It appears the only cost-effective way of successfully eradicating weeds in our streets is systemic herbicide, which of course should be applied in a controlled way to avoid runoff, and ideally when weeds are not flowering to minimise harm to insects.
Special ward. This is for Nessa Bennett at Ryde. I have recently been a patient in Luckham Ward at St Mary's Hospital. I would like to say I was very well pleased with the care I received there. From doctors and nurses to cleaners and housekeepers, everyone was so kind. The care was wonderful and they couldn't have done more. The food was good as well, and I will never forget the kindness. I have to go in again and I'm not worried at all.
Now, Alice Jones from Lake says beavers are not suitable for modern white. I recently received a leaflet through the post from Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust entitled Bringing Beavers Back to the Isle of Wight and outlining their plans to introduce Eurasian beavers to the Eastern Yar catchment area. The leaflet focuses on environmental benefits that the Trust believes beavers will bring, so I searched online to find out more. What the leaflet doesn't mention is that Eurasian beavers are similar in size and weight to a bull terrier or a Springer Spaniel. They have extremely sharp teeth, which they use to fell trees. Attacks on humans by beavers have been recorded, one of which, in Belarus in 2013, was fatal. Beaver attacks are thought to usually happen as a result of beavers defending their territory. Beavers have not lived in the wild on the Isle of Wight since the 16th century, when the human population was much smaller, and it is unlikely that beaver habitats would have been close to people's homes. If I lived close to any of the tributaries of the Eastern Yar or walked regularly in these areas, I would be concerned about this plan.
First on subject of World War III, this is a letter from Steve Carter in Shanklin. Is World War III staring down at me? The poor people of Ukraine will give a testimony to what Putin is really doing. Is he so bad or just a crazy madman? A nationalist who craves popularity of the Russian people, or is he indifferent to that too? Just a man with an evil mission. A cold, hard killer who has no feeling or humanity in him. An extremist with the awesome power to impact his vision on a peaceful people whom he blames for his failings. Where is God with all this going on? Does he care? Is he a he or a she or just another indifferent monster created by man's inability to think of a better world? To drift into World War III would be a very sad conclusion to Putin's miserable dreams of a Soviet society.
And now a letter from Anthony Barton from Newport, asking to please leave the Grey Monument alone. I note from the public notice, County Press, 4th of March 22, that the Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council is considering adding an inscription on the Valentine Grey Monument in Church Lytton and are asking for written objections. The monument was raised by public subscription and has stood for 200 years as a public memorial. It is now a listed building, described as a good example of a small late Georgian public monument, and any new inscription would be inappropriate and little short of vandalism. The monument is not owned by the council. At best, they are just custodians to ensure that it is preserved as it has always been for future generations. To recognise the 200 years since his death, the council could add a new memorial stone next to the original, which I doubt would cost any more. I say leave the Valentine Grey Memorial alone.
This is a letter from Sean and Georgia Russell of Bryston. Ukraine crisis reminder we are missing out. Following a walk on Sunday through the footpaths of Dunsbury Farm, I was appalled and shocked to see the state of the arable land that once produced a thriving crop. The ground now looks dilapidated with weeds growing tall, so-called rewilding. Given the devastation currently happening in the world, with Russia and Ukraine producing approximately 30% of the world's wheat, 20% of maize and 80% of sunflower oil, is it not time to rethink this policy and let British farmers produce British food for the people of Britain? Wildlife should always be protected, but there must be better ways of doing this rather than taking quality land out of food production. This is just one example of many farms over the Isle of Wight and the rest of the UK.
Jed Dwight from Wallington in Surrey writes, Gollygate sadly reinforces views of our island. Having grown up on the Isle of Wight, I continue to take an interest in local politics, especially as my first foray into public office was as a member of Calbourne Parish Council some years ago now. I am now a Tory councillor in the London Borough of Sutton, where I'm pleased to be putting the experience I gained on the island to good use. It is always disappointing to see the Isle of Wight in the national news for the wrong reasons. The island has much to offer, but newspaper headlines which associate it with outdated racial stereotypes are not helpful. If anything, they serve to reinforce the lazy and incorrect view held by some mainlanders that the island is out of step with modern life. I mention this as I know what the reaction would be if one of my fellow councillors in Sutton had accidentally posted a racially offensive picture onto social media. Immediately there would have been a forthright apology and explanation, and if this was considered insufficient, an expectation of a resignation, particularly from a senior position, would have followed. I appreciate that the island is quite different to a London borough, but most people would agree that the same standards and expectations should apply to those holding public office wherever it is. The bigger issue here, as I see it, now relates to the expectation that those in senior positions on the Isle of Wight Council are open and honest about issues and do not seek to hide behind half explanations which do not stand up to scrutiny. The island is a small place and people rightly expect their political leaders to be accountable for what they say and do. My fear with the Gollygate saga, as it is being described, is that far from closure being brought to the issue through a swift apology and explanation, we are now seeing it being prolonged through a reluctance to be open and transparent. Let's hope the Alliance Group at County Hall can now move swiftly to change this for the good of all islanders and all of those, including myself, who hold it with such high regard and affection.
A speed-up process to allow Ukrainian refugees into the country. This is a letter from Bill Harris in Newport. Copy of a letter to Bob Seeley. I have to ask again for urgency from the Home Office in dealing with entry visas for Ukrainian refugees. Why is it taking so long for the sponsorship approach to be finalised? I, and everyone I know, are ashamed by the pitiful approach of our government as to the processing of visas for these mothers and children. To have turned them away in Calais, telling them to go to Paris or Brussels, is the most shameful thing that I've heard for a long, long time. I am proud to be British, but I am not proud of our heartless and totally inadequate processing of Ukrainian refugees. We should welcome them immediately with open arms and sort out the paperwork once they are safe in our homes. Please bring your voice to bear on this in the corridors of the House at every opportunity.
And now a letter from Councillor Jeff Brodie, who is the chair of the Isle of Wight Council of Newport. Silence of left needs some explanation. I would like to place on the record, with the only local media outlet that has properly covered the story, my thanks to the Isle of Wight Council Conservative Group for their immediate understanding that the posting by the leader of racially offensive images on her social media is entirely unacceptable in the 21st century Britain. In particular, my thanks to their group leader, Councillor Joe Robertson, who has attempted to hold the council leader to account, supported by every one of his 17 colleagues, and who has joined my calls for her resignation. I am not one for applauding Conservatives in my years on the Isle of Wight Council, but it is reassuring that a generally right-leaning political party knows what is wrong when it comes to racism. However, setting aside for now Lib Dem Councillor Andrew Garrett, the silence of the Labour Party and the local Green Party has been deafening and frankly astonishing. Indeed, the two Green councillors that are members of the Leaders' Alliance Group have been similarly quiet. Perhaps the CP could inquire as to the reason for all of this local silence from the usually anti-racist left. Finally, I'm also surprised at the silence of the main staff union at County Hall, Unison, a union that, when I was a member, had a strong track record of anti-racism and with a current leading activist who not so long ago was honoured by the Queen for her work on equality and diversity. What sort of message does this silence send back to black and minority ethnic staff working for the council?
It's a letter now. Laura works hard, but this is not right. This is from Doran McInerney of Newport. Me and our Eddie have been visiting the island for a few years before we decided to stay at Tone's place. We haven't found our own place yet and fear we've missed the boat as prices are going through the roof. Despite my love of contemporary art and music, I do love a good old nose round charity and seaside gift shops. Plenty of these, eh? Now, I also love a good bit of gossip, but when I saw the news about council leader Laura P.C. Wilcox, who has or used to have a collection of Golly dolls, I thought, let's see how she gets out of this one. As it turned out, it is probably typical of local council meetings. Things got out of hand and the poor woman was harassed by her colleagues over the issue, to the point that Malcolm Mine gets his pencil out and scribbles on about how awful it was for Councillor P.C. Wilcox being lambasted by the woke brigade. He's happy, so he says in his column, for things to change, like the closure of some old cricket club, but not for the use of a foul depiction of black people as dolls and other collectibles. What a beanhead! Councillor P.C. Wilcox is a hard-working woman and should be praised for all her hard work. It is at odds, though, with this day and age that she should choose to own these things, which doesn't make her a racist, but it does make you wonder how committed she is to ensuring the council is committed to ethnic diversity and equal opportunities. It isn't a crime to own these things, but displaying them even in your own home speaks volumes. The charity shops are full of stuff from house clearances, old-fashioned things that have been replaced and changed for better things. Can't stand clutter myself. Collects dust and that's more just work for you to do. Most of these old things just have no use anymore and should be binned. Perhaps Malcolm Mine could agree that for lots of reasons, the Golly doll and what it represents is simply not wanted anymore, and you don't need to be woke to know this. Again, I've got memories, a bygone era. How many of these Newport shops do you remember? More than 50 years ago in the 60s and 70s, Newport was a hive of activity, boasting a unique collection of shops, where most of what you needed could be purchased. Both national and local shops existed side by side. Long before the council decided to start charging for parking, or the birth of internet shopping, both of which have contributed to many changes within the high street. Among the most popular high street shops, which are now gone, was Woolworths. On Saturdays in particular, the store will be packed because it was one of those shops where you could buy almost anything. Most people associate the Bells with flooring today, but it was once also the name of the island's leading clothes and fashion store with its own Zarina brand. Spanners was another old and well-established clothes store, while Baker's was a high street bicycle shop. Many will remember Courts, which was a leading furniture store, and other well-known local names included Millridge the Chemist, Speed's Wool Shop, Elder Slade House, Decorations and Paints, and Wadham's House Furnishings. Some island towns have held on to their unique character and traditional shops more successfully than others.
And now we've got my view from Catherine James, and she's entitled it, "The Past Has Not Passed Its Sell-By." There was a time when being pitched against one another simply meant Elvis versus Cliff. But perhaps humans were adversarial long before teeny bopper tribalism. Divisions accelerated with dehumanising finger-pointing done from the comfort of our living rooms. The cult of othering reaching a crescendo with chat show coliseums in which dysfunctional family members were pitted against each other for the entertainment of armchair Caesars. The us versus them divisions became national with the EU referendum in 2016. Leavers and Remainers taking to anti-social media and also the actual streets to crow or cry depending on which camp they aligned with. And of course, the pandemic has created further societal schisms. In the far corner, as far away as they can humanly get, are the fearful shielders. In the near corner, no nearer, right up in your face in fact, are the COVID-19 deniers, with our own government trying everything within that spectrum on for size. Another generation gap, which the media has cynically tried to widen, is that of young environmental campaigners versus profligate boomers. But for me, that ain't gonna wash. As a baby boomer myself, the make do and mend mantra was very much part of my upbringing, long before the entertainment fix by the repair shop. In our house, we rented a telly, and once it could no longer be tuned by being banged on the side, a repairman would come out and bang on the side of it for us, before upgrading it to the next model, taking away the old one for salvage, hopefully. Most children's first job was a paper round, supplementing their pocket money by distributing the news. In fact, kids on bikes were used to transport almost anything from messages to sausages. A revived version of this sustainable method of transportation is being trialled here as Island Company people-powered champions the return of the delivery bicycle, and whistling is optional. Reusable bags have seen a welcome resurgence, yet the tartan trolley was de rigueur when towed behind your mum on her weekly shop. The greengrocer sold local seasonal fruit and vegetables in compostable paper bags, twirling them by the top corners till the open edges creased shut. As a child, I recall watching root veg decanted straight from the scales into our sturdy vinyl shopping bag with its metal-reinforced corners, potatoes tumbling in with a puff of residual dust. Milk and other liquids were sold in returnable glass containers. Fizzy drinks bottles had a bounty on them, a refundable deposit included in the price. Even a pen was a desirable and lasting item, refillable with ink, and its steel nib replaced once worn to illegibility. Instead of single-use paper towels, we had laundered cloth rollers, far more functional than those deafening dryers in modern toilets, which are the hand-drying equivalent of Nigel Farage, generating a cacophonous drone of ineffective hot air. A return to war in Europe is not the past I was hoping we would be emulating. However, not all old ideas have passed their sell-by date.
Right, we'll move on to entertainment. Carnegie Hall greats set to perform on the island. The Isle of Wight Symphony Orchestra welcomes the return of the internationally renowned pianist Florian Mitria for the next concert on March the 19th. He'll be playing one of the famous piano concertos, the Concerto to an A minor by Edward Grieg. Known as an outstanding young pianist, he continues to grow his reputation as an award-winning soloist, performing at Carnegie Hall in New York and other major concert venues across the UK and Europe. The programme includes a world premiere of Jacob's Ladder by the young British composer Louis Mander, who has been described as a preposterously talented composer by actor and writer Stephen Fry. The concert will open with Manuel de Fala's suite to the Three-Cornered Hat, which evokes Spanish guitar sounds, flamingo dancing and bullfighting. The second half is an all-British affair with the beautiful The Banks of Green Willow by George Butterworth, who was tragically killed during the First World War at the age of 31. The concert concludes with one of the most iconic pieces of British orchestral music, Edward Elgar's Enigma Variations. The evening begins at 7:15 p.m. at Medina Theatre, and the orchestra is supporting Ability Dogs for young people at all of its concerts this season. The orchestra is sponsored by Whitelink.
Treasure from trash on display at the Abbey. Recycling, reusing and repurposing has long been an ethos we should adhere to, but a group of artists have taken it to a new level by intercepting material destined for the bin and reusing it to make beautiful new art pieces. Although more difficult than using all new source materials, the artworks have an extra dimension, a sense of history, a new beginning. They are essentially treasure from trash and less work for the bin man. Juliet Collins, ceramics, Pauline Evans, glass, Helen Goodman, mosaics, Marion Large, painting, and Lucy and Penny Green, decoupage, have put together a collection of work all containing recycled elements. This free exhibition, entitled The Art of Recycling, can be seen in the gallery at Quor Abbey, Binstead, from March the 16th to March the 22nd, and the exhibition is open from 10:30am to 4pm.
Fancy a night out. Top names in the world of music are set to perform at Medina Theatre this month. Powerhouse opera diva Leslie Garrett will take to the stage for an evening of song, reminiscences and chat. The popular soprano will be accompanied by pianist Anna Tilrook. Leslie's behind-the-scenes stories and anecdotes will give audiences a unique insight into her life on the stage. She last performed at the Island at White Proms in 2019. The date for your diaries is March the 18th, and tickets for A Diva and A Piano are on sale now. And also we have some shows at Shanklin Theatre coming up there. Thursday the 24th of March at 7:30 is the Manfreds. Thursday the 31st of March is Dom Jolly. Saturday the 2nd of April is Barricade. Friday the 25th of March is Eric and Ernie. That's Ian Aspel and John T. Stevens. Monday the 28th of March to Wednesday the 30th of March is Orpheus Rocks. Friday the 1st of April is Ian Sterling. And Sunday the 3rd of April is Reginald D. Hunter.
Win tickets for Legally Blonde. They say never work with children or animals, but Ventnor Theatre Group are far more inclusive than that. Spanky the Chihuahua has been cast in their next production and will take pride of place as Bruiser in Legally Blonde, the musical at Medina Theatre. The show is currently being rehearsed, and Spanky the Chihuahua his acting skills are coming on a treat. As Elle Wood's forever loyal companion, he absolutely steals the show, according to the production team. They said, "We're delighted to have Spanky the Chihuahua join the cast. He's been better behaved than some of our human cast members. You won't want to miss him giving his best performance on stage this April, so grab your tickets now." Sam Catty is playing Elle Woods, who tackles stereotypes and scandal in search of her dreams. The show is on from April the 22nd to the 24th. To win 2 tickets to see the show at Medina, simply answer the following question. What breed of dog is Spanky? And there's a picture of him, and he looks very much like a Chihuahua. Send your answer and full contact details to competition@iwcp.co.uk by midday on Friday, March the 18th. Terms and conditions apply. A lucky winner will be picked at random.
There's an article about one of the shows I read out previously at Shanklin Theatre, a treat for Eric and Ernie fans. Nobody brought up in Britain in the 60s, 70s or 80s could have failed to have been aware of the simple joy of Morecambe and Wise. Now the critically acclaimed and Olivia Award nominated show, Eric and Ernie, is coming to Shanklin Theatre on March the 25th. Ian Aspinall and John C. Stevens give an uncanny portrayal of the legendary comedy duo Eric Morecambe and Ernie Wise in the show, which is touring the UK until the end of April. Crammed full of renditions of those famous comedy sketches and coupled with contemporary references in their unique style, the show evokes memories of times when the whole families would huddle around the telly to share in the much-loved antics of Britain's national treasures. As seen on BBC's The One Show and ITV's The Alan Titchmarsh Show, the performances contain some of the first new writing in the style of Morecambe and Wise material, in over 30 years. Ash Patel and Stevens have been performing and writing at the Eric and Erne for more than 5 years. The research into their subjects is there for all to see in their staggeringly accurate portrayal. The performers themselves have a wonderful relationship with families and estates of Morecambe and Wise, with all scripts given the family seal of approval before being performed. I have been fascinated with Eric Morecambe for as long as I can remember, said Jonty. I took on his persona at school and it never really left me. He was the funniest and loveliest of men. We both feel it's a privilege to play Eric and Ernie, and some people have said it's like we're channeling them. Some nights it feels like that. Ian said we do treasure the relationship we have with each other, as did Eric and Ernie. And I think it's obvious that we love performing the comedy of Morecambe and Wise. Ian and Jonty met at drama school over 30 years ago and continued their friendship playing golf together at the Stage Golf Society in Richmond. When Jonty was asked to play Eric at a charity show, he knew that Ian would be the perfect Ernie Wise. Having brought the house down, the two then wrote some bespoke material for their friends at the golf club. It was these performances which set them off on an incredible journey. With rave reviews and an acclaimed West End season and an Olivia Award nomination, Jonty said more importantly, the audiences love watching it, which is always handy. But it's more than just watching a comedy show, and there's a real emotional connection, because we all remember watching it together. The audience reaction has been amazing. Contact Shanklin Theatre box office for tickets.
A national gas firm explains the clearance. A national gas company has explained why it cleared vegetation on the Isle of Wight coast, but failed to acknowledge it was protected and shouldn't have been touched without permission. Last week, islanders were shocked when work on Egypt and Prince's Esplanade, bordering Cowes and Gurnard, absolutely obliterated greenery opposite the Solent. The work has since stopped after the Isle of Wight Council got involved, but it was too late for the protected woodland. The site is a site of importance for nature conservation and has a tree preservation order, which means permission needed to be obtained to clear any of the site. Local ward councillor Paul Fuller confirmed no permission was sought and branded those behind it irresponsible. National Gas Company SGN, which owns part of the land, has said the site was assessed by its expert ecologist before work commenced, and they worked within the guidance they provided. Wasim Hanif, an SGN spokesperson, said they had conducted a vegetation clearance to the lower part of their site for safety reasons. He said the site was very overgrown, concealing trip hazards, uneven terrain and hidden pits. As a responsible landowner, he said, we have a duty of care to ensure the site's safety by protecting anyone walking through our land or working at the site. The intention for this clearance is to allow us to fully assess the lower part of our site. No trees have been removed and the woodland areas in our wider site have not been disturbed. The company did not wish to comment on the fact it cleared woodland without permission. It said once the work is completed, a suitable wooden fence in line with the local aesthetic would be placed around the site to help identify the boundary and protect the woodland area. SGN said it is talking to the council regarding the work which has taken place, but had nothing further to add to its statement. However, the other site landowner, Rosalind Murray, who owns up to the Gurnard sign, has slammed the company for vandalising her property, which her family has owned for 36 years. SGN has said it is in direct contact with Mrs Murray about the work.
Island trio walks free after drugs trial collapses. Senior NHS officials accused of accepting £70,000 in bribes have walked free from court after their trial collapsed. Medicine boss Paul Jerram, GP Dr David Turner, businessman Noel Staunton and pharmacist Cathal Daly have all been discharged after their 12-week trial was scrapped 6 weeks in. Mr Jerram and Dr Turner were accused of exploiting the NHS by acting as paid influencers for pharmaceutical companies and accepted secret payments to promote their prescription drugs. Mr. Staunton, whose consultancy firm represented pharmaceutical companies, allegedly bribed Mr. Jerram, while Mr. Daly was said to have also accepted backhanders. The scheme was uncovered in 2015, but now the trial at Southampton Crown Court has been abandoned. A court official said there were disclosure issues and the defence had not seen materials deemed irrelevant at the start of the investigation, which turned out to be crucial. After complex legal discussions, the prosecution could not guarantee a fair trial, so the judge ordered the jury to return not guilty verdicts on all charges. Now the defendants could be awarded thousands of pounds at a cost hearing next month. The allegations relate to the NHS on the Isle of Wight, where 3 of them were based. Mr. Jerram, head of medicine management and lead pharmacist at Isle of Wight Clinical Commissioning Group, and Mr. Turner, 66, a GP and consultant at the CCG, ran limited company JTR alongside NHS work. Mr. Staunton, 60, a friend of Mr. Jerram, represented large pharmaceutical companies throughout his business, 31 Consultancy, or 3i, and was said to have paid his friend to promote their medicine. Mr. Jerram of Shanklin was charged with 6 counts of bribery and 1 count of corruption, while Mr. Turner of Ventnor was charged with 5 counts of bribery. The pair allegedly received or accepted a total of $62,560, with Mr. Jerram receiving or accepting an additional $6,200. Mr. Staunton of Seaview faced a corruption charge relating to a payment of $2,000 and a bribery charge relating to paying a £4,200 fee. Mr. Daly, 51, of Norwich, faced a bribery charge relating to receiving $1,000 from Mr. Jerram and Mr. Turner. He allegedly encouraged South Norfolk CCG, where he worked, to sign a deal which was profitable for the pair.
A smuggling trio treated migrants as a commodity. Lord Redhead is among 3 Isle of Wight men to be convicted of organising crossings across the English Channel to smuggle people into the country. Stephen Redhead, 47, of Horsebridge Hill, Newport, and Christopher Barber, 55, of Landguard Road, Shanklin, appeared at Portsmouth Crown Court last Friday. They were unanimously found guilty of conspiring to facilitate the commission of a breach of UK immigration law by a non-EU person, contrary to the Immigration Act. Their convictions followed a 7-day trial. Jean-Pierre Labelle, 45, of Ashy Road, Ryde, admitted the same charge at Portsmouth Crown Court on February the 3rd. On March the 17th, 2020, Labelle travelled to Cherbourg, France, on board a 70-foot ketch yacht named Honore, with Redhead and Barber. They returned to East Cowes Marina on March the 19th, 2020, with 10 additional people who are suspected to have been migrants entering the UK illegally. CCTV showed the migrants alighting the vessel, and a report was made to Hampshire Police before being passed to officers from the South East Regional Organised Crime Unit, SERACU, to investigate. The migrants are believed to have been in the UK but have not been able to be traced, due to the incident being retrospectively reported. Between June the 26th and 27th, 2020, Labelle organised another journey using a small boat named Freedom. On this occasion he was unsuccessful, and the vessel used was intercepted after a joint operation with SERACU, the National Crime Agency, and French authorities. 6 Albanian nationals were found on board, along with 2 criminal associates who were subsequently prosecuted in France. Checks established the Albanian nationals did not have the necessary pre-entry clearance needed to enter the UK. Labelle, Redhead and Barber were charged with the offence on May the 25th last year. The convictions are the result of detailed investigation into people smuggling, said Senior Investigating Officer Claire Truman from Syracuse. We know the dangers people face being smuggled across the English Channel, and we know tragically this and other methods can have lethal consequences. We continue our work to tackle the people smugglers who seek to exploit UK borders and treat migrants as a commodity to be profited from. Redhead was remanded in custody and Barber released on bail. They will be sentenced at the Isle of Wight Crown Court.
Maritime Minister's surprise Isle of Wight visit. Maritime Minister Robert Courts visited the Isle of Wight yesterday as part of the government's announcement of a £206 million investment to support the sector in becoming greener. White Shipyard in East Cowes provided the perfect backdrop for the industry. It recently won a contract to build Uber hybrid boats on the River Thames in London. Thousands of ships, cruises and vessels will become greener and cleaner with the funding to support zero-emission sailing and skilled maritime jobs. Known as the UK Shipping Office for Reducing Emissions, UK Shore, a new unit will be housed in the Department for Transport, building on the success of the UK's Clean Maritime Demonstration Competition launched last year.
A pasty prize for a Cowes man. An island man has won third place in the Open Savoury Amateur Group at the 10th Annual World Pasty Championships. This year's Pasty Championships took place at Cornwall's environmental tourist attraction, the Eden Project, on March the 5th. Nigel Spooner from Cowes entered a chicken, squash and anchovy pasty. He was narrowly beaten by two Cornish entrants, Billy Deacon from St Day, who entered a hog's pudding and blue cheese pasty, and class winner Jodie Heath from Bodmin, sweet and sour chicken pasty. Jodie is a former Open Savoury Junior champion, and this was the first time a competitor won a senior category after previously being a junior champion. Jodie said, "I didn't think I was going to have a chance in the adult amateur category. I was very surprised." Islander Nigel was among more than 100 entries competing for 8 awards. Half are for traditional Cornish pasties and the other half are in open savoury classes, which are pasties not cooked to the classic Cornish recipe. The winners collected their Oggy Awards at a glittering ceremony in the Eden Project's Mediterranean biome.
GKN to welcome 30 apprentices. GKN Aerospace, the largest private employer on the island, is welcoming 30 apprentices in the business. Last year, 18 apprentices joined the business and a further 12 will be recruited in the coming months. The apprentices, aged 16 to 25, has joined as part of a 4-year programme at the East Cowes site and undertake their first year of training in the Isle of Wight College's CECAMM facility. The site is a centre of excellence for advanced composite structures such as wing components and aircraft tails. It is focused on automated manufacturing process, high volume and complex projects across both commercial aerospace and strategic military work. The apprentices will follow either the engineering fitter or engineering technician standard and will work on tasks in the operational and technical departments. Gary Hearns, site director, said, "We are extremely proud of our place, both in the community and at the forefront of the island's economy. These apprenticeships represent the next generation of aerospace engineers and aircraft manufacturing operatives, which are essential to our future success."
And planting a tree fit for a queen. A cypress tree of the same variety as that planted by Queen Victoria is now a feature of Osborne House in Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee year. As part of the Queen's Green Canopy initiative to mark the monarch's 70 years on the throne, the current Isle of Wight Lord Lieutenant Susie Sheldon and past Lord Lieutenants Major General Sir Martin White and Christopher Bland braved the rain to plant a very special sapling. The young Nootka cypress is the same variety Victoria planted, although that specimen is believed to have fallen victim to the storm of 1987. A number of other Nootkas are in the grounds of Queen Victoria's former residence. Susie Sheldon told the county press, "This planting is just one aspect of the Queen's Green Canopy project, which has seen trees planted across the island by businesses and communities. It is a lovely way to mark the Queen's anniversary on the throne, and I am so pleased that my predecessors could join me here today." The project is very much in line with the island's biosphere designation. Also present were Queensgate primary school pupils who had taken part in a competition to design a garden for the Jubilee. The winning design was from Ben Page, whose superb vision included the numbers 1952, 2022 and 70, as well as a Union flag motif. Pupils and teachers will now plant it up in the grounds of Osborne, so it will bloom in the summer.
Right, thank you. It's goodbye from Paul.
And it's goodbye from Lynn. The In Touch programme follows. Bookshare Winter Paralympics 2022. The Marrakesh Treaty, or more informally referred to as Bookshare, is an international agreement that gives visually impaired people access to a world of accessible books, quite literally. Countries that have signed up to the Marrakesh Treaty are able to share their online libraries with other countries involved. But listener Jackie Brown raised the point that the UK's system sometimes doesn't work as efficiently as other countries' services do, and that the RNIB's Bookshare service should stretch further. We invited Jackie Brown onto the programme to put this point to the RNIB's Head of Consumer and Business Services, Alison Long. We also invited Kevin Mulhern and Lena Cousy to give us a wider, more international perspective. The 2022 Winter Paralympic Games are underway in Beijing, and Team GB's visually impaired athletes have already secured some fantastic wins, including gold, silver and bronze medals. Alpine skier Menna Fitzpatrick will bring home some of these medals. We spoke to Menna and her guide Gary Smith about her wins so far, how the business of guiding actually works, and her upcoming races. The presenter will be Peter White, the producer Beth Hemmings and the production coordinator Liz Poole.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Tonight, the programme's going downhill.
Watch the clock! He's got it to the lead! The gold goes to Great Britain and Neil Simpson. Millie Knight will be on the podium with a brilliant bronze. This silver for Menna Fitzpatrick and Gary Smith might almost mean as much as the gold in the slalom 4 years ago. A brilliant silver for Fitzpatrick.
GB's Winter Paralympians haven't had to wait so long for medals as their Olympic counterparts. We're going to be talking to early medalists later in the programme. But first, remember the Marrakesh Treaty? Well, visually impaired book lovers like me certainly will. It was the agreement which was intended to smooth the path so that accessible books, braille, audio, magnified print, could be shared far more easily between countries. It seemed daft that in a world where blind and partially sighted people had access to far less books than their sighted counterparts, that we should have so much duplication of book production, and that every country individually should have to jump through copyright hoops for permission to produce the same accessible book. That's what we thought anyway, but there's been consistent murmurings here in the UK that things weren't turning out as we'd hoped. Well, with us is avid reader Jackie Brown, who lives just outside Belfast and who's in touch with many other visually impaired readers. Jackie, what is your concern about the aftermath of Marrakesh, and what are you hearing from other people?
My concern is that if you are a student in the UK, you can tap into RNIB Bookshare, which is RNIB's version of it. But people are saying that if you're not a student, you then have to choose whether you go without or you join International Bookshare, which is a $50 subscription.
And the worry for you, I take it, is not the money, but the faff.
No, it's nothing to do with the money. I've actually joined it as well because I'm a student. So it's just the messing about that you have to do. You've got to produce a certificate to say that you're blind, which is fine, but not everybody has one of those. So you need to get that from either your doctor or your social services department, wherever you're registered. And then you have to upload that to Bookshare as a JPEG file or just some file that's accessible for them, and then pay your $50 per year. I just don't understand why you have to do that when RNIB's got a perfectly good portal, which they say is only available for students.
Right, so what is going on? I've asked another avid visually impaired reader, Kevin Mulhern, to look into the Marrakesh Agreement, what it was meant to do, and perhaps why there's this rumble of discontent. Kevin, did we all get it wrong, what we thought this was all about?
No, I don't think we did. What Marrakesh actually does is it says if you're a signatory, then you literally import into your law the scheme that copyright, and this is all being done by the World Copyright Property Organisation, so it's coming from them. You ignore copyright, you produce a book in whatever format you need for people who can't access it, and then you, as every country that's involved in it, can share the books with one another. A lot of us thought back then, 2013, long time ago, everybody imagined you could just log on and just take a book from any other library, and it doesn't really work like that. The way it works is you can share your books with one another, but each of the libraries have to import the books. So you could get a book from America, but you get it through the RNIB or through another library, which is signed up to the system. From 2013 onwards, the countries that have benefited most are the countries which had the least, because this was an international agreement, and much of the thinking behind it was to make sure we got books out to the poorest countries, and largely that's happened.
OK, well, also with us is Alison Long. Alison's Head of Consumer and Business Services at the RNIB. Alison, for many years, the RNIB has, like this programme, campaigned about the lack of accessible books available to blind and partially sighted people. And yet, at this moment, there is a bit of a feeling that with all the optimism for book sharing, a lot of consumers have the feeling that the RNIB is perhaps a bit behind the curve in that there are these sort of rules and regs that Jackie was referring to. What would you say to that?
I would say that I think most organisations in our sector are a little behind because we didn't necessarily have the infrastructure to deliver on the sheer scale and impact that Marrakesh brings. So, we are sharing books and we are receiving books, but not yet at the scale that we will be able to.
Can I pin you down a bit more on what's holding you up? Because it kind of seems to us that if you have an agreement which says that people can share books between them, you're all librarians. I'm sure you all talk to each other from time to time. Shouldn't it be really quite a simple thing to do?
It is on the face of it, but if you think about, the number of titles in our collections, we are sharing, but we're sharing in, and have been before Marrakesh, to be honest, but sharing in quite a manual, labour-intensive way. What we've needed is a system solution where we can just say, here you are, here's all of our content that we can share under the Marrakesh Treaty, share it with all of the countries that have ratified Marrakesh. Actually, we are very close. We are testing that system right now.
But it was, as Kevin said, it was 2013. It was 9 years ago. I know it had to be ratified and then it had to be signed and then it had to be implemented. But even so, aren't quite a lot of other countries further on than we are?
Not really. Not in I don't think at scale, we all have the same challenge, particularly with the audio, because they're big files to share. So what the system that we're working with means that the content sits in one place and people access it from that one place.
I see the impression I get is that we haven't exactly been selling this system to people in the UK. You haven't said we've got this Bookshare system, come along and enjoy it.
Well, as Jackie said, RNIB Bookshare is, we view that as our curriculum and academic collection. We have really seen that as a resource for schools, colleges, university, and obviously the students that they're supporting.
But that was Jackie's point. Why this distinction, really? No one grudges a good system for students, but shouldn't it be there for everyone?
I suppose what we would say is that the more public library kind of content that we have sits within the online reading service, which is a different platform. I mean, essentially the same platform behind the scenes, but we have been looking at, options for kind of widening out that RNIB Bookshare.
But this feeling does persist that other countries are grasping the opportunity more firmly than we are, including one only just a few miles down the road from Jackie Brown. Lena Cousy is Head of Library Access Services at the National Council for the Blind of Ireland, and she's been telling me the difference the Marrakesh Treaty has made to the services they're able to offer.
We used to have around 30,000 titles in accessible formats that sat on our shelves, but since the Bookshare Ireland platform and the digital platform that we created, that number has increased to 1 million titles. And then also these titles, multiply them by 5 because they come in 5 different accessible formats.
And exactly who is eligible?
Individuals that are eligible are individuals that are blind, are registered blind or vision impaired in Ireland, or individuals who have a reading difficulty such as dyslexia, or individuals as well that have a physical disability that stops them from accessing print.
In practical, down-to-earth terms, Lena, what does a visually impaired person in Ireland do if they want a book from this Bookshare system?
In Ireland, we are quite lucky in a way that we have a register of individuals that are blind or vision impaired. So there's no extra work that needs to happen for our service user. We can check that application form against the register.
Is there any charge, Lena?
No, it is a free service. Back in 2019, when we built the service and we signed the service level agreement with the Dyslexia Association, we received a one-off funding from the Department of Higher Education in Ireland to set up the service. And it's been very, very successful, especially during COVID, when many schools, many colleges were closed. Public library service was closed, and we were their only source of books in the country. They were able to download their books 24/7 from a library that never closed down.
Alison, I want to bring you back on that because it does sound as if their system is rather less bureaucratic than yours.
Yeah, I think it's just part of it is that it's kind of grown up in different times. RNIB Bookshare is kind of created before Marrakesh. We will get there in terms of joining things up more. We absolutely don't want to stop customers from getting, the content that they want, either for education or for reading for pleasure.
I want to bring Kevin Mulhern back in because, Kevin, one name keeps cropping up as we do the research into this, and that's the Accessible Book Consortium, or the ABC. What exactly is that, and where does that come into the picture?
Well, ABC, they set up in 2014, the year afterwards, and anybody who was signed up to the Marrakesh Treaty at that point could put their titles into that organisation like a clearinghouse, and you could clear books in and clear books out of it. For example, NLS.
That's the National Library Service in the United States, isn't it?
Yeah, which is a huge one, and they're in there. Now, actually, I believe that the RNIB are in the process of joining ABC, but haven't done it as yet. Is that correct, Alison? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
One thing I would say, unfortunately, in Britain, all roads lead to the poor old RNIB, and I feel a bit sorry for them because they're always the whipping boy. Many of these other countries, I don't know about Ireland, but certainly the United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, those countries get an awful lot more money from government to make this work. I'm pleased that Ireland got a grant, but certainly America, Canada, New Zealand...
They all get money, don't they?
And all the Scandinavian countries.
Yeah.
They're always really shocked to hear that we get, nothing to run our services from government. We are the anomaly.
Alison Long, Jackie Brown, Kevin Mulhern, thank you very much indeed.
In the mountains, Great Britain's medal tally keeps on ticking in the right direction. This silver for Menna Fitzpatrick and Gary Smith might almost mean as much as the gold in the slalom 4 years ago, because she too has had to bounce back from some difficult times. A brilliant silver for Fitzpatrick. One medal in the bag here. Has she given herself the chance of a second? Yes, she has. There's another brilliant bronze for Great Britain. Menna Fitzpatrick is on the podium again.
That's the sound of success, courtesy of Channel 4's coverage from the Winter Paralympics in Beijing. 4 medals at the time of recording for our visually impaired athletes. A gold for Neil Simpson, a bronze for Millie Knight and 2 medals for Menna Fitzpatrick, a bronze in the downhill and a silver in the Super G. Well, Menna and her guide Gary Smith joined me from Beijing earlier today. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. How long have you got, Menna?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, that's fine. That'll be lovely. And then you're going to your medal presentation, is that right, afterwards?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Menna Fitzpatrick, first of all, many congratulations. It's been quite a start, hasn't it, for the visually impaired athletes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had some really great results with Millie and Brett winning bronze on the first day, and then ours silver, and the Neil and Andrew winning gold, and then another bronze.
Yeah. Now, Neil won his gold in the Super G, and that's where you won your silver medal as well. To people who aren't skiing aficionados and Winter Olympics aficionados, what is the Super G exactly?
So we always start off at Paralympic Games as the speed events, as we call them, and that will mean that the gates are a bit further apart, so they'll be, about 50 metres apart, and so the turns are a lot longer. And you reach up to speeds of about 70, 80, 90 kilometres an hour on 2 planks of wood, following an orange square pretty much. And then we'll get into the more technical turnier courses as the week goes on.
Right. I'm interested in the guiding, and I know Gary, your guide, is there with you, but can I get you first to explain just how does the guiding work?
So first of all, we've got a bright orange jacket on the guide.
And you can see enough for that, yeah?
Yeah, just about. As long as he stays within about 2 metres. Anything more, it goes a bit faint. And then we've also got microphones and speakers in the helmet, and I'm really reliant on what Gary tells me, and that's when to turn or what's coming up, whether the slope goes steep, flat, whether I need to change my technique or little triggers or what the snow's doing as well, whether it's soft, icy, anything that he thinks will help me and give me confidence. One example is like the light as well, because then I'm expecting whether to suddenly go into the shadow and not see anything at all for a gate and a bit, or whether it's bright sunshine.
Right. Your guide is with you, actually, Gary. So, hi to you. You're wearing headphones, but there must be a lot of other noise going at that speed in your ears. Can you actually hear properly when, under those circumstances?
The first few days we had a real problem, and I think a lot of the visually impaired teams did, because of the wind being so strong here. You came around a certain part of the course and the wind was so loud, you were just screaming at each other. For me then, it's making sure I'm looking back as much as I can, just because sometimes if Menna was calling there's distance, I might not hear her very clear. We were lucky for the race, the wind calmed down, so our communication could be a lot calmer, so that really helped us. But yeah, sometimes it's quite difficult.
This must be particularly satisfying for you, Menna. I mean, you had quite a difficult approach to the games, didn't you? Broke a leg earlier on?
Yeah, so just as the COVID pandemic was starting to happen, I broke my leg actually with Gary and doing one of our last races before lockdown. And yeah, sadly, I broke my tibia in my right leg. And So throughout the pandemic, it was FaceTime onto the physio and trying to do physio on myself, which is not ideal. But yeah, Gary was a massive support in that and checking that I was all right and whether I could still make a brew or not.
Because I think Gary's had to come in anyway as a replacement guide. Does that create problems working together?
Sometimes it can be quite difficult to swap and change guides, but I'm really lucky that Gary and I had already skied together for a whole season and we built up that relationship and that trust and got used to each other. And then to step in, we also trained as a bit of a trio with my other guide, Katie Guest, who sadly couldn't be here because of testing positive for COVID. We planned for the what ifs and unfortunately one of the what ifs happened.
Can I just ask you about the atmosphere at the Games? Because, of course, there was a lot of confusion at the beginning when first the Russians were going to be allowed to take part, then they weren't. I'm just wondering what effect that had, how unsettling that was for you and other competitors.
For us, in the Alpine Village, the atmosphere is still pretty good. Everyone's still enjoying their own experiences here. I mean, it was a tricky situation for the IPC to make that decision. And as athletes, you just got to concentrate on your own performance and not let anything else kind of deter from that, really. And it's up to the IPC. We're definitely not politicians.
You're just off, I think, to the medal ceremony as we record this. Have you got other events to come?
Yeah, so got the giant slalom and our slalom events. What they?
So we had a bit of a rest day today, and we'll again tomorrow. I think we'll rest up, and then we've got giant slalom training the next day, and on Friday we've got our giant slalom race. So that'll be probably about 1:30 in the morning UK time, and then finish up the Paralympic Games with another slalom event to finish.
Well, Menna and Gary, many congratulations to both of you. Great to end on a winning note. That's it for today. Your comments very welcome. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk. You can leave your voice messages on 0161 836 1338, or you can go to our website bbc.co.uk/in touch. From me, Peter White, producer Beth Hemmings, and our studio managers Mike Smith and David Crackles. Goodbye.
The Vectors Radio podcasts are sponsored by Break the Cycle CIC, rebuilding self-esteem in people who have experienced domestic abuse. For more, email hello@breakthecycle.org.uk.
We've got some guests in this hour, haven't we, Maggie?
We have. We have the lovely Chris Kane.
Good afternoon.
And his friend he's brought with him is Karen.
Good
and
afternoon.
They've come from Sight for White.
Good afternoon, Karen.
Good afternoon.
So, I understand you are the Membership Support Officer.
Member Support
Officer.
You're close.
I was close, yeah. What does that entail then?
So I was sort of brought in after, obviously, the pandemic to sort of try to get people back out again that obviously had lost a lot of confidence, as you can, as a lot of people did, and as you can imagine, sort of with a visual impairment, trying to navigate your way round after shops had changed their layouts for like one-way systems and so forth. Then again, trying to social distance for anybody can be difficult, but obviously with a visual impairment. So that's what I was brought in to do. It's sort of gone on from there, from going out to our members to assist them with equipment. I'm not allowed to say the word beginning with an A after you just told. Yeah, smart speakers.
Smart speakers, yeah. If you say the word, then
they all set off, don't they?
Some of them start working.
So setting those up for our members, because obviously, again, for something which is voice controlled, has just been absolute godsend again for people with a visual impairment, and helping people with filling out forms. Again, if technology has gone so far now that, to before used to filling out whether it be a passport application or a blue badge application, you'd be going through pages and pages of forms to fill out. It's wonderfully quick if you know how to use a smartphone and you can do the pictures and everything on it. But again, for a lot of our members, that isn't an option. So I'm able to go out there and hopefully just make their life that much easier.
Yes, I know how difficult it is to do things with a smartphone because I haven't got one.
So you actually go and visit the members at home if necessary and help them with equipment there or filling in forms there, or do they also come into your headquarters?
Yeah, they can do either. So, I'm the majority of the time, I would say I probably actually go out, to members, especially if it's form filling, because obviously they have a lot of the information is there at their fingertips at home rather than coming into us. But we also have a weekly low vision drop-in on a Wednesday morning, so a lot of our members will then come in, and I'm slowly learning my way around bits of equipment with the help of my colleagues down at Sight for Wight, who have been a godsend themselves. So so obviously depending on what it is, but if it's large pieces of equipment that we've got down there, then obviously it's easier. But then again, if they can't get in, then I will happily go and pick them up and bring them in to us.
Good idea.
Okay. And what sort of equipment have you got on offer over there?
So we have everything from the word I can't say, the A word.
A well-known maker smart speaker.
Exactly, yeah. Other brands are available.
Well, one of the smart speaker options that we've got is the Echo Show, which actually has a facility where you can hold something up for someone that can't see, perhaps a label or something.
Right.
It says the name. What is it? The exact phrase? What am I holding?
What's in my hand?
What's in my hand?
Oh,
and she will say.
Brilliant.
Which is brilliant. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
There's a tin of baked beans, and and they think that they've picked up a. I don't know.
Tin of peaches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no brown markings on your average tin can, is there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It could be dog food.
It could be. Yeah.
That wouldn't be very nice on your toast, would it?
It wouldn't. No.
Yeah, so we have everything from that to sort of quite little simple things, the little bump-ons, which are little buttons which you can put on something to sort of navigate around, whether it be your cooker or your microwave or whatever, up to pieces of equipment which will actually read text from a newspaper for you. So and sort of every bits and sort of things in between, lighting and so forth. So it's nice if they can come down, because sometimes they will find something that they weren't maybe even thinking that they were looking for, and as I said, if anything can make life easier.
So you cover the whole range from what they call low vision to effectively complete blindness with the equipment you've got.
To a degree, yes.
To a degree, yes.
Because also at the hospital, they've got a low vision. I think they have several low vision drop-in.
They do.
Where you can look at their equipment as well at the eye department.
Yeah.
So that's another option, because sometimes we will, if we can't help someone, we'll refer them to someone
there.
that
That's
can.
fair enough.
Yeah. Well, they're very good up there at the eye clinic.
They are.
Yes.
Brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
So how do people find out? Well, I mean, obviously these people have to be members of Sight for Wight to access these services.
Yeah, I mean anyone that has a visual impairment can contact us and then become a member, and then that gives you sort of access to a whole range of information.
Does it cost them anything to become a member?
That's free to join.
Yeah.
Some of our activities we do, there is a small charge for.
But to become a member, it's free.
Absolutely free. Yeah, absolutely free.
That can't be bad, can it?
And Sight for Wight is the operating name of the Isle of Wight Society for the Blind.
Yeah, and we're there Monday to Friday, 9 till 4.
Can't be bad, can it?
So, anything else you want to add? No?
I wanted to mention something about, it's not until June, but we're having a hat and sunglasses day.
Right.
Yes.
Tuesday, of course you are.
Of course we are. Tuesday the 21st of June. So it's a £1 donation. So we're encouraging people to wear sunglasses and or a hat. And it's all about
can they wear clothes as well?
Sorry?
Should they wear clothes as well?
They should wear clothes. I would, yes. That goes without saying. But yeah, it's all about how you can protect your eyes and just make people aware of avoidable sight loss. 48% of sight loss is avoidable. So
yes, I can imagine.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how can people find out more about all these services?
Oh, sorry. Yep. So, as I said, most of our services, a lot of the things come through in our newsletter. So again, if people contact us, and as I said, we can either send them out a newsletter, or that would automatically come out to them if they do become a member. And again, on the speaker thing, smart speaker, you can also get the Sight for Wight skill on there, which will also give you our talking news and also our newsletter on there as well.
So how do they get in contact with you?
You can call us on 52205.
Mm-hmm.
You can email us inquiries@iwsb.org.uk, or you can pop into Millbrook House, and we're at 137 Carisbrooke Road, Newport.
So is that on the main road, or is it round the back?
It is on the main road, but if you are coming by car, if you come along Castle Road, we have a car park.
Yes.
Yes, there's this strange door.
Yes.
A strange door.
What goes on in there?
Secret things.
Yes, it's a fascinating building, yours, and the fact that it's got this odd door into the main road path through Carisbrooke is very, very strange.
Yeah.
But you can do that. And your website?
Yeah, siteforwhite.org.uk.
Thank you very much. And there's plenty of stuff there for free if you are a member, and it costs nothing to be a member, so why wouldn't you be?
Lovely.
Anything else you need to add?
I think that's it, actually, yeah.
Okay.
We've let people digest that information.
I think so.
And you'll be able to hear the dulcet tones of Chris and the Talking News, which is on at 9 o'clock tonight.
Yes.
It is.
Your support matters. We operate thanks to the support of local businesses. If you would like to advertise on Vectis Radio, FM 104.6, contact our team today. Marketing@vectisradio.fm.